get a picture in front of the Lincoln.
Yeah, let's do that.
Go up over there. If you set it up, I'll take the picture for you.
I think we'd rather have you in it.
You might have to sit there.
I have a feeling he figured that one out. Thanks for the tip, pal.
Recognize that this job can take a toll on you. I understand second term, need a burst of new energy, try some new things, and then my team and I talked about it. We were willing to try anything, so we borrowed one of Michelle's tricks. I thought this looked pretty good, but no bounce. I, on the other end, have run my last campaign. On Thursday, as Ed mentioned, I went to the opening of the Bush Presidential Library in Dallas. It was a wonderful event, and that inspired me to get started on my own legacy, which will actually begin by building another edifice right next to the Bush Library. Can we show that, please? I'm also hard at work on plans for the Obama Library, and some have suggested that we put it in my birthplace, but I'd rather keep it in the United States. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Prime Minister, my lords and members of the House of Commons, I have known few greater honors than the opportunity to address the Mother of Parliaments at Westminster Hall. I am told that the last three speakers here have been the Pope, Her Majesty the Queen, and Nelson Mandela, which is either a very high bar or the beginning of a very funny joke. We got rid of one rule from 40 years ago that could have forced some dairy farmers to spend $10,000 a year proving that they could contain a spill because milk was somehow classified as an oil. With a rule like that, I guess it was worth crying over spilled milk. I'm confident a farmer can contain a milk spill without a federal agency looking over his shoulder. It is wonderful to be at Master Lock. I have to say, though, it brought back some memories. You know, I was thinking about my gym locker in high school. And, you know, if you go into the boys' locker room in high school, sometimes it's a little powerful, the odor in there. So I was thinking about the fact that we weren't washing our stuff enough. And then I was thinking about, as I got older and I kept on using Master Locks, I became an even better customer because I couldn't always remember my combination. So I'd end up having to have the lock sawed off and buy a new one. So I was giving you guys a lot of business. And now, as I was looking at some of the really industrial-sized locks, I was thinking about the fact that I am a father of two girls who are soon going to be in high school. And then it might come in handy to have these super locks. For now, I'm just counting on the fact that when they go to school, there are men with guns with them. So we also have a young up-and-comer on the team, a guy named David Beckham. I have to say I gave David a hard time. Yeah, I said half his teammates could be his kids. We're getting old, David. Although you're holding up better than me. Last year, at the age of 36, David had his best year in the MLS, leading the team with 15 assists. He did it despite fracturing his spine halfway through the season, injuring his hamstring the week before the championship game. He is tough. In fact, it is a rare man who can be that tough on the field and also have his own line of underwear. We cannot sustain. Whoops. Was that my? Oh, goodness. That's all right. All of you know who I am. As some of you may have noticed, I had a lot more energy in our second debate. I felt really well rested after the nice long nap I had in the first debate. In the next 100 days, our bipartisan outreach will be so successful that even John Boehner will consider becoming a Democrat. After all, we have a lot in common. He is a person of color, although not a color that appears in the natural world. Come on, man. I get it. I got to give one of these to see it. No one is happier, no one is prouder to put this birth certificate matter to rest than the Donald. And that's because he can finally get back to focusing on the issues that matter. Like, where are Biggie and Tupac? I'm so in love with you.
Hey, get out of here.
That's the most persistent fly I've ever seen. Nice.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States. Hi. Excuse me. Well,
I mean, everybody's got something to say these days. Mike Huckabee recently said, people shouldn't join our military until a true conservative is elected president. Think about that. It was so outrageous, 47 Ayatollahs wrote us a letter trying to explain to Huckabee how our system works. It gets worse. Just this week, Michelle Bachmann actually predicted that I would bring about the biblical end of days. Now that's a legacy. That's big. I mean, Lincoln, Washington, they didn't do that. But, you know, I just have to put this stuff aside. I've got to stay focused on my job because for many Americans, this is still a time of deep uncertainty. For example, I have one friend, just a few weeks ago, she was making millions of dollars a year, and she's now living out of a van in Iowa. Meanwhile, back here in our nation's capital, we're always dealing with new challenges. I'm happy to report that the Secret Service, thanks to some excellent reporting by White House correspondents, they're really focusing on some of the issues that have come up, and they finally figured out a foolproof way to keep people off my lawn. There you go. It works. And it's not just fence jumpers. Some of you know a few months ago a drone crash landed out back. That was pretty serious, but don't worry. We've installed a new state-of-the-art security system. You know what? Let me set the record straight. I tease Joe sometimes, but he has been at my side for 7 years. I love that man. He's not just a great vice president, he is a great friend. We've gotten so close in some places in Indiana, they won't serve us pizza anymore. I want to thank our host for the evening, the Chicago girl, the incredibly talented Cicely Strong. On Saturday Night Live, Cicely impersonates CNN anchor Brooke Baldwin, which is surprising because usually the only people impersonating journalists on CNN are journalists on CNN. ABC is here with some of the stars from their big new comedy, Blackish. It's a great show, but I have to give ABC fair warning. Being Blackish only makes you popular for so long. Trust me. There's a shelf life to that thing. As always, the reporters here had a lot to cover over the last year. Here on the East Coast, one big story was the brutal winter. The polar vortex caused so many record lows, they renamed it MSNBC. But of course, let's face it, there is one issue on every reporter's minds, and that is 2016. Already we've seen some missteps. It turns out Jeb Bush identified himself as Hispanic back in 2009. But you know what? I understand. It's an innocent mistake. Reminds me of when I identified myself as American back in 1961. Ted Cruz said that denying the existence of climate change made him like Galileo. Now, that's not really an apt comparison. Galileo believed the Earth revolves around the sun. Ted Cruz believes the Earth revolves around Ted Cruz. And just as an aside, I want to point out, when a guy who has his face on a hope poster calls you self-centered, you know you've got a problem. The narcissism index is creeping up a little too high. Meanwhile, Rick Santorum announced that he would not attend the same-sex wedding of a friend or a loved one, to which gays and lesbians across the country responded, "That's not going to be a problem." Don't sweat that one. And Donald Trump is here. Still. Anyway, it's amazing how time flies. Soon the first presidential contest will take place, and I, for one, cannot wait to see who the Koch brothers pick. It's exciting. Marco Rubio, Rand Paul, Ted Cruz, Jeb Bush, Scott Walker. Who will finally get that red rose? The winner gets a $1 billion war chest. The runner-up gets to be the Bachelor on the next season of The Bachelor. I mean, seriously, $1 billion from just two guys. Is it just me, or does that feel a little excessive? And it's almost insulting to the candidates. The Koch brothers think they need to spend $1 billion to get folks to like one of these people. It's got to hurt their feelings a little bit. And look, I know I've raised a lot of money too, but in all fairness, my middle name is Hussein. What's their excuse? The trail hasn't been easy for my fellow Democrats either. As we all know, Hillary's private emails got her in trouble. Frankly, I thought it was going to be her private Instagram account that was going to cause her bigger problems. Hillary kicked things off by going completely unrecognized at a Chipotle. Not to be outdone, Martin O'Malley kicked things off by going completely unrecognized at a Martin O'Malley campaign event. And Bernie Sanders might run. I like Bernie. Bernie's an interesting guy. Apparently, some folks really want to see a pot-smoking socialist in the White House. We could get a third Obama term after all. Could happen.